Tabitha, you want to start?
Okay, I've just started the recording. So, hi, I'm Tabitha. You can also see Miranda, and Miriam is on audio. We're going to talk to you about the lessons we've learned from implementing institutional Moodle standards and templates, where we're up to in that journey and where we're heading. Here we go. So we are talking about Unitec, which is a New Zealand higher education institute with multiple campuses in Auckland, a few partnerships internationally. This photo is of what they call Building 1. The biggest campus at Unitec was originally a mental institute. We fairly regularly still feel it is, but we'll try and skip past that bit. We have around 1,800 courses, around about 160 programs, and about 10,000 students per semester. And we have a broad range of disciplines, so everything from architecture, nursing, boat building, captive wild animals, civil engineering, media design, you name it, we've got it. And there are about 1,100 staff that we work with, so a lot of people.
So late 2013, we started something called the Moodle Standards Project, where we were going to try and create, let our staff create more quality courses, but in quite a simple way by giving them principles. So in this presentation, we will look at why we needed the Moodle Standards Project, and that will probably be quite familiar to many of you when we present that. How we divided it into 3 stages to slowly get people towards really good Moodle courses. What we did to support staff, how our efforts gave us good results, but also not so good results, and where we're going next. Tabitha, I don't have any arrows, so you're going to... Okay, so this will look very... Yeah, like Miriam hasn't got a webcam, I haven't got arrows.
Yeah.
Tabitha's got everything.
So yeah, it's pretty obvious from this slide why we needed to implement standards across our institute, because this wasn't, and unfortunately still, an uncommon look to a lot of our Moodle courses. And I say this isn't an uncommon look because these screenshots were taken shortly before iMoot. A lot of our problems, I sometimes joke, might even be solved by removing the highlighter button from the Moodle editor. But unfortunately, these aren't the only problems, but it is indicative of the sort style that goes on, or lack of.
Just before
and it's really hard to explain to lecturers why this is not okay. And somebody was wanting to say something there. Tabitha?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can read the slide, you'll note that it actually welcomes them to semester 2, 2014, and then references a book from 2015, so they're having quite a number of issues.
That too. And I didn't take a screenshot of it, but there are actually bits where it's highlighted and the background is green and the text is red, and I'm just thinking somebody really didn't think through colorblind issues when they did that particular combination as well.
Would you like the next slide?
Yeah. And the next slide should also look quite familiar to a lot of people, because this is another reason why we needed standards and to talk to teachers about how to set out their courses, because This is just a whole bunch of readings with absolutely no context around them. What is reading 4? What is reading 10? Who knows until you click on it. And the next slide. And this is all one course. I had to zoom out heaps to try and get it down to just 6 screenshots. So if you're actually zoomed in on the course at full size, it would be probably about 3 times that many screens worth of, screens. Wow, language is working really well for me tonight. And this also isn't uncommon. And sad to say, this was also taken right before iMoot. So
We've kind of
oh,
jumped
dear.
straight to the last bit, like where it didn't work. But luckily, we also have good examples.
Yes.
Okay, from my previous presentation, we already know that we can't run this whole movie. So we had 3 stages in the project. In the first stage, we were just gonna get people to do a cleanup and give them some very basic principles to work around. In stage 2, we are getting the programs or even departments, if they feel that way, to apply a common look and feel. And in stage 3, we're gonna go hopefully to a more extensive use of Moodle activities instead of mainly staying with files and folders and labels, but just really get some more active teaching going on. So this little video, don't worry, was a good example of how we supported. It was actually the project was really well marketed, and that's why we had quite a large impact. We have someone working with us who's quite keen on making really cool videos, and also we had a lot of marketing around campus, talk about the Moodle Standards project. So a lot of people were aware that it was going on, and that really helped maybe to instill a sense of maybe even a little bit of fear of, oh, we're going to get audited. I heard some teachers say of like, oh, we're going to get audited. Yes, Amos. Yeah. So this is also an example of how in stage 1 and in each stage we try to support teachers in a very large way. So this is an example from a self-paced resource that we made, and it lists the 3 principles that we wanted people to work around in stage 1. And the first one was to separate course information from course content instead of mixing up things that are actually administration, like where do I have to be, what do I need this year, what's my timetable, who's my teacher, and so on. Separate that from any readings, PowerPoints, quizzes, whatever was going on. We also gave a checklist of essential information. So once they separated the course information from the course content, that there was like a, let's say, tick boxing a number of things that you really had to have for your students. And then the third one was actually a very large item, let's say, where we tried to get them to apply some basic web design principles to get a clear and consistent course. Anyone take over?
Okay, so we're separating out content from information, so making it easy for students to find the course information. So we encourage teachers to use a Mood profile block so that you could always find your lecturers. Really helpful for students to be able to put a face and a name together, especially when there are multiple teachers. We also encourage them to put in some kind of contact in the Mood profile block, whether it be their email or phone, or whether they're using Moodle messaging. We encourage them to make an HTML block for all the course information, so students could quickly find the course documents, the learning outcomes, timetables, assessment information, and using the news forums to get announcements out to students. We did give them a list of compulsory minimum information and asked that they ensure that those are always on their sites.
Yeah, the use of the news forum was quite important because you might have seen that on that first slide, is that a lot of the information, let's say last minute information, often gets put in somewhere in the middle of the course. The current topic then will have let's say a red with yellow background highlighted text saying that the lecturer won't be there today, or they will be in another classroom, and so on. And then the teacher is surprised that nobody saw it in topic 7. So,
Right.
Miriam,
So
Miriam,
I'm
Miriam's
visible. My turn. So one of the things that we tried to focus a lot on, because of the things that were shown in those first few slides, were the basics of good web design. So we focused on 3 mains, and I called them the 3 C's. Consistent, clear, and correct. And this is a screenshot from that self-paced resource that Miranda showed earlier. And this is near the end of that. And so the consistent section focused on things like consistent use of colours. So try not to use all the colours under the rainbow as per the beautiful highlighting we saw earlier. And this applies not only to highlighting text, which we would prefer people not to do at all anyway, but also headings and the body of the font and everything like that. I mean, if it were up to us, we'd lock that down completely. Consistent use of fonts. Moodle does allow you in the font drop-down menu to change the fonts a little bit, and some people go a little bit crazy with that and have several different types of fonts on their pages, and even use several types of fonts in their headings, and that just makes it look all messy. So we're trying to tell people that by using a consistent font and color in their headings and in their text actually makes for a cleaner thing, and changing the font and changing the color does not make something stand out more, it just makes it look messy. And we can remove those, but we're treading softly on that score there. And then consistent use of images. So people, once they realized that they could spice up their page with pretty pictures, sometimes went a little bit far and had a mix of clip art and cartoon and photographs and all that sort of stuff. And once again, rather than making the page look nicer, it just made the page look messy and uncohesive and things like that. And also we ended up with issues where people were just grabbing images from wherever and not attributing them. And so this led to a lot of discussions around how do you actually attribute images? How do you know whether an image that you found on the internet is free for you to use? So we found a whole bunch of websites where people could find Creative Commons images to use, and also trying to convince people that putting image source google.com isn't not right, and how to actually find the source of the image. And if you can't find the source of the image, then find a different image. So err on the side of safety. So
Hey,
that was
Miriam,
all
we've got
under
a
sort of
question.
the consistent. Yo.
We had a question in there about how we deal with that. So we've enabled Wikimedia and Flickr so that we can tell people just search there and then expand on that.
Yeah,
And
and
the
so
other,
also the
Yeah.
the list we that Miriam talked about. So we have created a list of free image sites for our teachers that we refer them to, but we've not just provided the list, we've also strictly curated it. So the ones that we find difficult to navigate or have a lot of kind of links that are actually the Shutterstock photos that can confuse teachers. We've left those out. We've taken the really clear ones, informed people about whether they had to register or not, the type of photos, and so on. And we find that people are very, very happy to have those. So, especially
Yeah,
since we
the list
explain to
is
them what and how, and it's not just the list. Yeah, we put a lot of work into that.
the list is visible to all the public on our Moodle site. It's guest access to that particular list. So if someone with a more stable connection than me could find that list on our glossary and post it into the chat, that would be great. Yeah, but directly to the list, not just to our Moodle site.
I'm on my way.
the other thing
Shortly.
all this, sorry, the other thing that all these conversations about images gave us an opportunity to do with teachers was talk about what you need to talk about with your students. So they were starting to ask and to demonstrate to students that they know a little bit about attributing images, just like you attribute, you reference work that you use. So it was we tried to tie that into their teaching practice.
Yeah. And so then the second point was clear, how to make my course clear. And that includes using the topic boxes to organize your content to start with, and not just having an endless long list in one big long topic box. Organizing those resources in a way so that if you do have a long list of readings, rather than having them all listed on the front page of the course, putting them into a folder called readings and putting some context around them. So that's what we called click and reveal content. So rather than having the content just all there on the front page, using things like folders and pages and books to have content that students have to click once into to get the full list or full details of that content. And it really was an uphill battle to also convince the lecturers because they were like, oh, the students won't click on something. And it's like, well, they aren't going to click on something that they don't know what it is anyway. So if they have to do one more click to get some context around that, they're more likely to actually click on the content to read it. And so it was those horrible discussions that you have where teachers are like, oh, but this is how I want to do it, and you're like, no. And then writing for the web, which means not waffling on and presenting your students with a wall of text. Using white space and bullet points and making your writing concise, short, to the point, because students, anyone when confronted a wall of text on the internet, is going to glaze over. And not using underline, or don't abuse the underlines and bolds and highlights and all that sort of stuff. That's correct. And that leads me to correct, which is checking that your spelling and grammar are correct. I can read a page that I've written 1,000,000 times and not see the errors in it, and yet not errors in other people's work the second I look at them. So having somebody else hasn't been involved in the writing, have a look over your course and see if there are any obvious errors. And also, as part of your re-looking at your course, you should be on a regular basis going through and checking that all the links that you have to external resources like blog entries and readings and things like that are still active. 404 errors. Do not look when you're delivering a course and you're expecting students to do readings and look at this and look at that, and all they're getting is 404 errors. So going through and checking your course for correctness.
All right. So as we said, organization of resources as a first step to a better learning experience, referring there to Joyce's keynote. Yeah, so as we all know the scroll of that. So as Miriam said, we have folders to click and reveal. But what also turned out to be very useful, let's say for the teachers that we could get to understand the complication, was working with Moodle pages and books, where they would take a number of things that they had listed on the front page and put it into a kind of multimedia learning object, just a Moodle page that would then consist of a bit of text and a YouTube video and something to read and a website to go and look at all around one subtopic. Within that, teaching them how to use pages, because actually we turned out that pages were very unknown, weren't they? It was something they'd never used before. We also taught them where possible to do links to orphaned activities or orphaned pages and orphaned books to have even more of a clean look on front pages.
Oh, haven't tested book yet in 2.9, but that will be my task to do between now and iMoot. Start testing 2.9.
It must do, because it is now a core module.
Should do.
It's not a plugin anymore. It
We've
became
got a lot
core
of
in
books
2
going
point
on,
something.
so don't scare me.
I know, right?
Okay,
You
so
haven't said much.
we started the workshops for this last year, 2014. We offered 19 workshops, and there were 190 registrations for those workshops. These were all comers. Anybody can sign up. You choose to come on a day of your choice, not compulsory. And then this year we've run another. I ran the stats at the beginning of March. This is a bit old. We offered 14 all-staff workshops. We had 61 registered, but a lot brought colleagues with them, which is really nice. We ran 2 workshops for administrators because they wanted to know what was going on with Moodle standards and whether they would have a role to play in that. And on top of that, we ran workshops within departments and other staff. And our broader team also ran workshops for other staff. So really high uptake. We still got audio?
Yeah. I can still hear you.
Okay, just Miriam got lost. So we had we also had the Moodle course, which we've provided a link to, give people documentation and self-paced resources that we already discussed a bit earlier on. We did some spot checks. We looked at 50 courses to see how well people had gone with stage 1. We thought about 30 of the 50 were about 80% of the way there. A lot of the time they were missing very small things, so that's not too bad. It gave us an idea that at least over half have started to try, so that's good.
Yeah, so it's mainly the split of information and content seems to kind of come across quite nicely. The web design part still eludes quite a few people, but yeah, we're working on it.
We asked program committees to sign off that they had looked at their programs on Moodle and that they were happy they had met the stage 1 requirements. So we've had some of those come back to us, but yeah, we've been quite lucky to have strong support from the Institute, so it seems to be valued.
With the arrows, Tabitha?
Thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
So the uphill battle, do we win? At the moment, it still feels like a bit of an uphill battle because step 1 of stage 1 had a large uptake, and there was a reasonable uptake of having people organise their resources. And Miranda pointed out during the last slide, the web design part is harder for teachers to get their head around and to understand and to maintain. And maintenance is a big thing because stuff that looked good at the start of the semester when we looked at a whole bunch of courses and we went, yay, they're doing a great job, deteriorated during the semester. People just started dumping things into their courses again and figuring out organising them away nicely and things like that. So the maintenance seems to be the issue. So stage 2, me, you?
No, it's good, Miriam, you're gone.
Stage 2 about a consistent look and feel across your program or department, because we realised early on that we couldn't enforce a consistent look and feel across the whole of Unitech because we have such a wide range of courses and such a wide of programs. Some the way that their course function and the way that they use them is quite different from how other programs use their Moodle courses. And so it's not just about teacher preference, oh, we don't like the way that that looks or like the way that this looks. It's that way just wouldn't work for our students. We need it to work in this way because that's what our students need. So so the consistent look and feel is not Unitech-wide, but it does need to be at least program-wide, if not department-wide. And so we had to, we're sort of pushing it now, and some people went this way last year, is getting programs and all departments to sit down and decide on what they call, or what we called, a template. And it doesn't have to be an actual template in sort of the sense of some people think of the word template, but it is this is organizing our courses template.
We do and sort so of have champions.
We put together examples. Sorry, what now?
Richard was asking a question.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not looking at the chat while I'm talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, we put together some examples for people, and we put them together quite early. At times it led to a little bit of confusion because people were looking at the thing going, and you can see in this screenshot the tiny version of the original templates, and some people were saying, oh, I like this one, but I don't like that one because it's got red buttons. And it was like, okay, well, that wasn't the point. It was supposed to be how the template functions, not the color of the buttons. So, Tabitha, if you skip to the next slide.
Just before I do, I pasted into the chat our stage 2 step-by-step process. So for those who can follow the link, have a look. But we did provide recently a step-by-step around the process, so that people weren't looking at the pictures going, oh, but I want blue or I want red buttons. They actually understood that this was actually about meeting the requirements of your students, knowing what your students need, knowing what is best practice, discussing with your teaching team, and getting feedback. And there's a process there. So I've put that link in there. So feel free to have a look at that and give us feedback.
The next slide is really just two of those same templates, but where I've removed the colourful buttons and replaced them with black and white text holders or grey and white placeholders. So when people actually clicked on those templates to look at the courses, the example courses, they were no longer confronted with red buttons or blue buttons or whatever. They were just confronted with placeholders that they could then look at and focus on the functionality of the template and how it was put together, rather than the colour of the buttons. So, Lindy, that was your suggestion, and that's why I was wanting to go to the next slide, so that you could see that we had implemented that just a little bit late.
I think we did everything on stage 2 a little bit later than people wanted, because staff seem to think, oh, there are 3 stages. How fast can we get this over and done with? Because we don't really want to change our courses. We just want to get it made and move on so that we can go to teach. There's a high proportion of staff who think you set up the course and you leave it the same for the next 10 years. So, yeah, yep. we should have known that. We should have known that would have happened, that people would try and mesh those stages together, but we didn't. Never mind. Anything on the slide we need to talk about? Miranda, you're muted.
No, I think departmental workshops. So there have been some run where people have gone in to work directly with departments, because one of the things we didn't want to do was to have the implementation of the templates fall to us. So once we had worked with the department to help them design their template and customize it for their students and for their courses, we then wanted to hand over the actual maintenance and distribution of that template to the department. Involved running a workshop or a couple of workshops with the department, with the people who would be doing this, so that they knew what to do, and then it was no longer in our lap.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of our, let's say, it's like a big showpiece. So lucky enough in a few departments to have some people who were really interested in graphic design and leading their program to having a really nice looking course. So I think these must be one of the most beautiful we have. And then, yeah, what we did was steal that guy to come and work with us. So that was our strategy, wasn't it? The man who made it now works with the academic advisors. So that's a really nice example. I think we've got another one in the next slide that looks okay. Miriam, you know more about this one, so I'll let you talk.
So that one was more of a simple example where a department said we want a template that is going to look clean and simple and be really, really easy for us to make new buttons for and won't put in graphic design. And so I worked with them on this nice, clean, simple, and now make all their own buttons and run their own template. And are doing actually quite a good job of making sure that it stays clean. So these examples also screenshotted right before iMoot. So they've managed to maintain their cleanliness.
Okay, quick. Talk about this really fast because I need to get it off the screen.
So yeah, this is where it can go wrong. So you provide people with the option to make to make buttons. We gave them actually a PowerPoint template with the basics of these buttons, and then unfortunately it was one of someone we would call a champion, who's a very, very willing teacher, and got its whole department to implement those and help them all. So now we're stuck with a whole department with these buttons.
Oh, dear.
This is not the only department.
I know, the whole department. But so the big question here is like, actually they did what we asked, right? So we have to work our way through this on how do you say, like, yes, you've organized everything, you've all applied the same look and feel, but it's not good graphic design. How do you not hurt people's feelings? So yeah, I think we've taken the path of colorblindness, I think, and they were very susceptible to accessibility and things like that. So I think we're going the right way. They've invited us to discuss the buttons.
Way to get rid of that off the screen. Sorry. Bad. At least they knew. They knew. So it was okay. I think they got lost. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Oh dear.
Stage 3.
So stage three, the big exciting up and coming stage 3. We have just started thinking, oh, we should do something for stage 3. What is stage 3? We're trying to remember. And we literally, that's how often we got to look at this, with all the other things going on in our lives. But Miriam, Miranda and I, believe it or not, actually only work together one day a week. So we put in, we have a professional development offering that we make to staff. We have a schedule. There was a gap in the schedule. There was an hour, and I went, oh, I really want to do something on Moodle for collaboration. So I put this in the schedule and thought, well, let's see what we can come up with and offer this to staff. And so on the morning of the Moodle for Collaboration workshop, I mean months and months in advance is what I was trying to say. We put together a course to use to teach with this workshop. It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. We had really good feedback.
And there was no sarcasm in that. It really was great.
It really was. I don't know how it happened. So stage 3 was about encouraging conversations about best practice. It's really helping people to think about learning and teaching principles. It's looking at the models that they use in their course, whether they're highly blended, whether they do lots of work integrated learning. And we want them to start thinking about their teaching practice and what they do with their students. So we ran this workshop because we wanted to showcase how Moodle can be used to collaborate. We don't see a lot of collaboration in Moodle, and many departments. So we really wanted to offer something a bit new. Very good feedback. Hey, can we share it? We can probably share it.
Oh,
So
probably.
that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Is it already open? Maybe I'll have a look. Somebody else talk. I'll go look.
Okay. I don't know what to say. Except, yeah, that it did work really well. We, because of the time pressure, we ended up with really, really simple activities and a topic that was really easy to Google. So I think that helped a lot. And one of the things we got as feedback was that they'd attended workshops before and how to use various tools and all that sort of stuff, but that it was really, really good to see how they actually work in action and be able to use them as a student and to be able to work together with a group of people in using them and see really how it would work in the classroom. So sort of took that on board and thought, well, maybe we should do more of this sort of stuff in workshops as well, have people interacting with the thing that they're learning how to make as a student.
So yeah, so we run it as a face-to-face workshop. We explain, we show them what we're doing, but usually after they've done something. Yes, it was all three of us because we had the one day where we where we worked together. But we really wanted people to be doing the activities like they would with, if they were students, and then talking about why we set up the activities the way we did. So all the participants said they'd like to come back. They would like another session where we help them with their own, and definitely would recommend this be run with other staff. So we think we've got a winner for a first a first point for starting stage 3. So we're now starting to build a set of case studies and exemplars from across Unitec to help with promoting conversations about what people think best practice is, and we're looking at how we can get people to nominate others for taking up spots as brilliant teachers who really know what their students need. So yeah, this is our next step. Why have we got day-to-day learning in middle school? Anyone remember that?
Don't know, but hopefully things will be who are going to create things that we can show to find those things amongst the Moodle courses, because people might be doing best practice in their classroom, but they're not necessarily building Moodle courses yet that showcase best practice.
Yeah, can't remember who put that there.
Quick, refer to the notes.
Anyway, were there any questions that anybody had?
Yeah, because that's our last slide.
Are you planning on having some
The only
template
notes on
activities?
that say.
Click to add notes.
Yeah, click to add notes.
Are we planning on having some template activities that we can import into the courses? In our
I'd say that would be
templates,
hard because if courses are so individually different.
yeah. One of the things that you get by default is the news form. We are asking that people always have the HTML form with their course information, HTML block with the course information in, and a Moot profile block, so that people have those. But what I think we've talked about a long time ago, but was having a feedback so that people get an example.
We had the feedback for a while.
And our the accounting one has a couple of different things in it that say, hey, start your topic here. Now, what did they put in there? I can't remember.
I think we had a discussion forum in one of the templates.
A student
to try and encourage people to have a student discussion forum in their course.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't want to. The problem is we don't want to load up our templates with too many extra things that people are just going to see as clutter either. We want to work with them to build things that are specific to their students and their course's needs.
Okay. What do you mean? What do you mean then?
I do like the idea of having a template that has the best settings for a separate groups mode. I think that'd be really useful for our teachers. So that they will get a lot of work done for us as well, but otherwise we have to explain and get them to get the right settings for groups. It sounds good.
I don't know if anyone saw Austin's talk, but he was talking about setting up using templates as well. So if you get a chance, have a look at the talk that Austin gave. It's recorded. It's all of about 15 minutes long. I don't know what Miriam and Miranda think, but maybe encouraging people to use the choice a bit more as a nice entry. I think choice.
Well, we used that a couple of times in our Moodle for Collaboration workshop, and people seem to quite like it.
Yeah, I think we probably can look at having, like Lindy says, a repository type course where you've got a number of activities set up that people could import, or that we could use to import it. I think that's quite a nice idea. In fact, something like our collaboration course where we are showcasing everything anyway.
Years ago, one of the first templates that we had had a glossary, a course glossary in it, and a random glossary entry block. But that was a long time ago. I have no idea if any of them still do that in their department templates. Did anyone want to take the mic and tell us about what they're doing in terms of having standards or templates in their institute? Go on. You know you want to.
So we are 2 minutes from the end of the session, so.
Well, please do feel free to continue the conversation with us. There is a forum in the course. You're welcome to get in touch with us there, or contact us directly. Thanks for coming along and listening to us. And hopefully the recording works this time.
Yes, I'll jump in here and say thank you
very much.
And it was really, really good. And the recording stayed on the whole time. I basically stared at the recording button the whole way through. So just checked it didn't click off again. So thank you so much. And congratulations to Miriam with her perseverance. I think we'll find your perseverance badge. And hopefully you'll be able to go and actually have some holiday.
It's still stuck.
My phone is stuck on the screen and it won't turn off.
That is I've ever seen. Hopefully that'll get fixed and you have a lovely holiday. You're welcome to start for another few minutes and keep chatting. But I'm going to pop up at this point and say thank you again. See you soon.
Thanks, Wendy. Bye.
Bye.
And the session ends with
Like-
some great chat comments about the phone.
Damn phone. Can't even find a reset button.
Oh dear.
Right.
Who's that husband of yours, Miriam? Get him to fix
He's
it.
at the dance. I've got to go pick him up in an hour.
You were better contact him.
I can't